all addictions are under the same roof, and physiology aside, it's a matter of escaping. We want to escape this discomfort, this inner pain, and at all costs.
Hey, friends and listeners of the Switch for Good podcast. Yep, that's you. I have some really exciting news. Dotsie and I have started a Switch for Good podcast Facebook group. We created it so we can build a community of fans that will help us improve the show and deliver on the topics that you want to learn more about. So we want to hear what your favorite content is, what you want more of, and what you want less of. And if you like the length of the show, Dotsie and I are always talking about the length of the show, right, Dotsie?
Yes.
We want to tailor our show around the needs and desires of our incredible listeners, almost 500,000 of you. And it's really simple to join. Just go to our Switch for Good Facebook page. That's Switch, the number 4, and then Good. And then click on groups. And there we are, the Switch for Good podcast chat. You can post directly in the group, share ideas, talk to other listeners, and connect with like-minded folks. So go, run, join our Facebook group and tell us what you want.
Well, hi, Alexandra. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you, Dotsie. A little unnerved because this is a very different show. I don't know anything about our guest except for that she's been a very important person in your life. And tell us all what's going to happen today, because you were in charge of the show.
Yes, and you always provide so much research, and you're always so prepared for shows. So I was kind of excited that you got to kind of like take the week off and just receive. But yeah, I think we have one of the greatest treats that we've ever had for our listeners today. The therapist who saved my life and the person who first suggested I pick up a bike and try it out as well is our guest today. And her name is KRS Edstrom. She's a magical wonder of a human who I love dearly and I owe my life to. So we are going to deliver, I guess you could say, her expertise and her genius in kind of an unconventional way. So instead of us interviewing her like we do with most of our guests, first, I want to share with you all how and why her techniques worked on me when 5 other therapists and I had failed at the job. Next, we are then going to welcome KRS on the show, who is a very private being and does not want video on. So we're not going to have video today. And we'll get to speak with her a bit. And then she is going to take Alexandra through a meditative journey. So I just want to give a little disclaimer, y'all out there. If you're in your car or if you're working out, if you're doing anything at all that has your attention more than this podcast, please stay tuned for the next 20 minutes or so. But then you will want to press pause and transport yourself to a comfortable position in a quiet room so that you all, alongside Alexandra, can be taken on this transformative journey towards healing. So, Alexandra, I met KRS in a little bit of an unconventional way. I was desperate after 5 failed therapists, which also was my fault because I was lying to the first few.
When you say lying, were you acting like you had no issues?
No, I was actually just, historically, I wasn't really telling the truth. How I was acting out on my eating disorder, I wasn't really telling the truth. I was not being self-aware at all. I wasn't ready to be self-aware and really share the truth and the nitty gritty, because that's what I needed to do to be able to really get to the other side, I guess I'll say. So those 5 different humans really didn't get a chance, so it was my fault, not theirs. And then I had some stays in outpatient rehab, and I was one day thumbing through the LA Weekly, a free newspaper, and at the very back of it, I don't know if it still does, it used to have little teeny tiny ads on events and such. And KRS was going to be speaking that evening in the basement of a Borders bookstore. And her subject matter was fear, which is kind of interesting because I don't know that at the time I really connected much of what I was experiencing and going through to fear. But I believe subconsciously I did, and I learned as I went along. A fair amount of it was connected to fear as I worked with Chris, but I didn't really know it at the time. But my subconscious showed up and said, "Go to this." So I went to this basement of this little Borders bookstore. They were much smaller back then as they are now, and I heard her speak. There were probably 25 of us down there in the basement of the bookstore, and just everything about her drew me energetically towards her. And I went up to her afterwards and I said, "I am suffering and I am in a really bad way. And do you do individual work?" She said, "I do." So.
And at this point you were, tell us where you were in your anorexia and the eating disorder, drugs, what was going on?
Yeah, I had just transferred, if you will, whatever the word might be, from anorexia to bulimia. So the bulimia had been raging for not that long, like 9 months, I'd say, in terms of, and I'm saying that in comparison to so many people's stories with bulimia, which can last a lifetime or 20 years, 30, so that's where I was. But I was at such war with myself. When I was anorexic, I didn't feel at war with myself. I felt like I was thriving.
In control.
I felt like I was a good girl. I was in
Yes.
control. I had it handled. Right. But the bulimia just, spun me. And I'm singing to the choir right now with bulimia, but with you, but it just, that was like, what is happening? This is the opposite of control. So, what I would love to do is, people have heard me mention a few times on this podcast about the quote blue dot technique that I worked on with Chris. And so many of our listeners have been incredibly kind and curious about my book excerpts that I've read as I'm going through this journey of writing a book, which is going to last for.
They're very popular. Dotsie.
Well, they're just, it's, people like being read to, maybe I do. So that's part of it probably.
That's not it. It's because it's really well written and intriguing and we cannot wait for the whole book to come out. Are you going to read another excerpt?
I feel like it's going to be 20 years before it comes out. Anyway, so I thought I would. I went back to a little bit of the writing that I did on Chris and the blue dot section. And I thought, this is kind of a fun way to share it with everyone. And then we're going to go right into welcoming Chris on the show after I share this. And I just can't wait for the adventure. So, all right. Unlike all the other therapists, Chris began with action. She didn't futz around taking notes or observing me for weeks on end. She could see from the start that I was underweight, empty, and in a lot of pain. "We'll go into your childhood later. You're sick now," she said, bypassing Annie's, that was my alter ego in my anorexia, defenses like a deft Aikido master. I told her that I was binging and purging several times a day now, that I couldn't make it to work most days, that I was compulsively obsessed with food, weight, and control. She nodded sympathetically, her sky blue eyes holding a steady gaze. "I'd like you to do a quick exercise with me, okay?" I figured I'd go with it. I was certainly desperate. She asked me to close my eyes and tune into my breath. After a few seconds, she guided me to bring my awareness to my body, but not how it looked, how it felt. For people obsessed with their bodies, anorexics are remarkably out of touch with them. We don't live in our bodies, we master them, we whip them, we own them. There exists a supreme detachment and even contempt between the headquarters of the mind and the imperfect, despicable, ever-shrinking body. "As you settle into your body," she said, "feel your pelvis on the chair, hands on the armrest, bring your awareness inside. What are you feeling, Dotsie?" I sat motionless, wanting to run. Tuning in with my body felt frightening, and to reach for a feeling from deep within brought about a vulnerability I'd spent the last 4 years avoiding like the plague. My addiction was in control, and she was messing with it. And what did she even mean? What was a feeling? I hadn't had a real emotion as opposed to a chemical high generated by either drugs or Annie's mania in what felt like forever. I don't know if I can do this, I said. I don't know how I feel. It's okay, she said. We don't need a feeling per se, just a color. A color? Yes, if you could describe what color you imagine in your body right now, what would it be? My eyelids were shut, but my inner eye could see something. Red. And its temperature? I sat for a moment and considered it. Hot. And its weight? How heavy is this feeling? Well, that seemed weird. Did feelings have a weight? I went inside to find out. Sort of like medium, I think. Maybe medium heavy. Good. You're doing fantastic, Dotsie. I did like her praise, but I wanted the exercise to stop. I couldn't take much more. Annie didn't like all the interrogation. And where is this feeling in your body? Well, that was easy. My chest, I said. And finally, its shape, Dotsie? Can you see its shape? I was relieved to hear the word finally as I tuned in one last time. It was actually amazing how clear the feeling was, albeit still beyond identification, at least by me. It's sort of a circle, but big and coming out of my chest. It's sort of burning or melting at the edges, I said. Perfect. Well done. You can open your eyes now, Dotsie. I came back into the room slightly disoriented from my journey as if it's been functioning from a part of my brain I hadn't used since childhood. And it felt both liberating and threatening at the same time. The whole exercise had taken maybe 20 seconds, and yet I might as well have traveled to another planet. After a minute, Chris gave me clear instructions. There's an office supply store down the street, she said calmly, like a grade school teacher. I want you to go there and buy a package of blue stickers, the small blue dots. I knew those dots. I had used similar things before. I could see their plastic package in my mind. Aside from being suicidally self-harming, I was a very organized person, and I know those blue dots. Okay, I said, nodding. Her vibe was soothing and grounded. I liked her. And when you get home, I want you to stick those blue dots on all the things in your apartment that make you think about binging or purging. Well, images immediately flashed to my mind. The fridge, the toilet, the cupboards. There were so many things and places that jerked me into my eating disorder. Would my apartment become covered in blue dots? And whenever you see one of those blue dots, you will stop whatever you're doing and do the exercise you just did. You will close your eyes, tune in, and identify whatever feeling is coming up. Its color, shape, size, and weight. It will only take a few seconds. That's my excerpt from the book on blue dots and Chris and what we're about to experience.
Wow, Dotsie, thank you so much. That was beautiful and really so, I could relate to so much of it. Amazing. As someone who also had an eating disorder, just your writing is so beautiful. And I'm looking forward to sorta
being the subject.
yeah folks, Dotsie wants me to go through a sort of a mini work with Chris, so I said yes. I had a question though, Dotsie. She doesn't call herself a therapist per se. What was different about her? Was it the fact that she gave you things to do rather than talk about your pain from your childhood?
Well, we did get into the pain from my childhood. What I really loved about the beginning of working with her was I was suffering so bad at the time. It was the case where the other therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, whatever their titles were, they really were not willing to go into my current pain without going to my past pain. And as we all know, who's been in any type of therapy, that can take a while to go into your childhood, right? I mean, we're talking that could take 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. And I really was desperate for some action. And so she was willing to do it in the reverse. And so that just changed everything when she gave me the permission to deliver it to her in the reverse. So I would say, 9 months into working with her, and I worked with her for a good 2 years, almost 2.5. We did go into my childhood. I mean, we actually did like a session with my mom, and I mean, we went there. But yeah, she's she's more of a meditative guide. I think you're going to see when you experience her in just a bit here. And her method is she just doesn't have a template as a method. And many, I think, therapists do. She really is able to listen deeply and tap in to each individual human that she's working with and figure out what tools and techniques will fit for them.
Okay, folks.
Okay.
Let's get going.
Here we go. Like we promised, we're going to welcome Chris to the show. All right. Welcome then, KRS Edstrom, to the Switch for Good podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Dotsie.
This is like 2.5 years in the making, getting you on here. So we're very, very lucky, and we're very excited to go into the session today. But first, I wanted to chat a bit and just share with people what you do, the magic of what you do, because to me, it's magic. I've already shared with our listeners how many therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists I went through before I found you unsuccessfully, outpatient rehab, et cetera, et cetera. You are a meditative guide, and your method of madness is not from a template. And I didn't know that actually when we were working together, and have learned that through the later years from you. So I would just love if you would take our audience through a bit of the method of your madness and how you work.
Well, I like your blue dot story, if you want to just share that, because it kind of leads when you asked me.
Yes, true. And I did share my blue dot experience 20 minutes ago with everyone. So they've got the picture of what that is.
Picture of
but
the moving target. Yeah.
Moving. But I will tell people that the story is that when I asked you about that,
that
technique, whatever, a couple months ago, when I was still drawing you in to come here and be with us on this podcast, you said, and I mentioned blue dots and that technique and how it was so effective. And I still talk about it to this day. And you said, what are you talking about? And I was like, excuse me, this is like a central component to my healing.
Yes, this is
and that showed me that you really take each and every individual and see what their needs are and walk them through that, however best it might be for them. So like, you haven't blue dotted everyone, I guess. It's just me that's been blue dotted.
You particularly needed that. No, but thanks for the reminder. I'll have to reincorporate it. So through the years too, we all grow, in our work and techniques and so forth. But so yeah, it's not a template, is sort of I guess intuitive. I think I mentioned that word. I dive sort of deep and get a sense of the person and know feel what they need, and then the technique comes with that, because not everything works for everybody. That's not news or so enlightened, but it's so important you connect to what's going on in there. And and so that goes to me being an empath, and that's a more popular word now. I didn't really know about that word much until in maybe 15 years ago. And there was a highly sensitive person is another. Well, some differentiate between the two. The books that are just now really being written on this, although an author called an expert in highly sensitive people, Eileen Aaron. I went to a workshop, I just say 20 years, it was a long time ago. And I went, I'm not alone.
What does that mean to be highly sensitive? Does it mean that it doesn't mean you take things personally, I imagine?
That could be, Alexandra, anything from sensitive to light, sensitive to sound, sensitive to smells, sensitive to people. You pick up energy.
Crowds.
That's
me.
So, I've got a sister who loves to just get energy out of going to the mall. So the COVID thing really knocked her out of her game, and many people, that's it. People, they function well that way. Empaths and highly sensitive people are not so inclined and very sensitive to other people's energy. And so the good news is it's a gift, would I choose to have it? I don't know. It's a challenge too. But you can, and many of them are authentically intuitive. Empaths usually are, I think, I work intuitively, but I wouldn't say I'm an intuitive, meaning reading your whole, but it works that way, so that I kind of sometimes close my eyes and then I get, oh, I got it. I had a client long ago, before I knew what I was up to internally on this. And she said, oh, my feet. Oh, I said, what is that? And she said,
plantar fasciitis.
Plantar fasciitis, so she was, I said, oh my gosh, what is that? And I dove too deep. I didn't know that or what I was doing. And she explained and told me how. And then I said, well, I mean, like exactly where and what part and where does it feel? I mean, I got it by the end of her description. And then I worked with her on it. Right. But I didn't know I was soaking up all that in the meantime. It was just a joke how quickly I got this mysterious plantar fasciitis. I mean, seriously got it,
Wow.
And then it happened again. And then finally.
When you say it happened again, you mean that you acquired a symptom that one of your clients had?
Yes. I become, and it's not just me, it's empaths and highly sensitive people. Thus, if you're just even at a party or a happy get together, you're picking up, you end up with everybody's stuff or one person's thing or pain or this or that by the time you leave often, if you don't know what's going on or how to sort of manage your energy. So energy management and space, keeping the sacred space of self and all that. So I think to one extent or the other, it's kind of like being on the spectrum. I haven't ever heard the term spectrum applied to being an empath, but in my mind, everybody must have a little, if you're human, you feel, right? The empaths just take it to the extreme, where your nerves are not right on the surface, but you just pick it up. So,
Chris, I was going to say that, and I thought, well, that's not appropriate, but you said it, because that is exactly, so that book changed my life, the one you're speaking of. I read it about 4 years ago. I'm an emotional, intuitive empath, and I can't be around super loud noises or crowds or craziness. I can't do concerts or shows or anything. I can't be around that many people. Like, I've gotten to it unlocked so much about understanding myself. But if in the morning, my husband Kirk is on a call, he gets up like an hour before I do. And if he's already started his day and he's having an angry conversation with someone and his heightened emotions and maybe yelling, and I'm in the same office, I start literally twitching. And that's why I think it feels spectrumy to me. Like, I feel like it's like, what is happening? And I have to pick up my computer and my water, and I have to go outside. And I get better as the day goes along. Like, if he has a frustrating conversation at like 4, I don't know. But right when I get up, if it happens, I can't function. Yes. I start shaking and twitching, and it's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. And isn't it interesting? And by the way, yes, morning for, again, I don't want to be the expert on this, but you kind of get to be a little bit when you, but mornings I think are sensitive for some people. Just that creating and establishing the sacred space I keep coming back to,
Right.
and getting me rooted back on earth, or in self, really is what it comes down to. So but isn't it funny, all these years later, we're just discovering that you were, that my guess was, I think a lot of eating disorder, different people with different issues have this. And here now you're saying, yeah, I did, and we didn't know it or deal directly in that way with it then. We got to it, in a different way, that because I still felt your sensitivity, but I didn't know exactly the words for it back then. I don't know if
Right. And we had labels back then.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
But it in some ways, sometimes labels are, it's so comforting to say, oh, that even by you hearing in this discussion, to say, oh, that helps. It's a normal thing. I'm actually, if I can handle this, gifted, if I can handle being one, it's a gift. And then how do you handle it? Well, with skills and so forth too. But anyway, that's interesting that you're telling me all these years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an awakening. So
may I just say, I have one question first, because I don't, I think a lot of people might think, how can this is what I straddle as an actor. As an actor, I straddled being emotionally available and open, but also being able to weather the disappointments of a lot of rejection. So there's that balance, and I've learned to compartmentalize things very well. How do you, or Dotsie, how should Dotsie deal with all this stuff coming in, or people affecting us? How do we do it without shutting down and shutting them out?
Good question. And she kind of answered it in a way, is she gets herself separated from the situation. She's kind of doing she figured out self-care there. And then techniques, and then some of the and then techniques, and daily practice, daily self-care, if you will. It's really this whole thing is about getting to know yourself. And I would say, again, it's different for everybody, but creating space, doing meditation and calming, and so the nervous system really kind of gets rewired, which it does, by the way, with meditation. They've done studies with the brain and so forth. So so that strengthens you. And then the knowledge that what gigs to accept and not to, Dotsie, don't put yourself in those situations. It's spending time, making time for you in your life to, diet, exercise, meditation, a logistical plan, a structure, and not something that has no wiggle room for self, meaning prioritizing yourself. So that logistical thing is the back. Oh, and then in that, okay, right. Meditation. When does exercise happen? When does diet happen? Oh, do I need less exercise? Am I just doing formulaic sort of routine? Don't eat the same every day. You kind of get very sensitive to your own self in the best way, because most of us are blocked off from our own self. We're so busy living life, and often don't want to do the work to go in there. So that's just the blunt truth too, that it's amazing how many people would rather go through their pain than get out of it. And that's a little bit but once you start going in, it's the best, like the only way around is through, that expression.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're going to have to go through it to get out of it.
Yeah.
In it to go out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing, Dotsie, too, with the people in your life, is to be as honest as you can and kind in asking them, could they go out side with the phone and or don't yell. Anyway, to gently and lovingly though.
Okay, we'll do a session on that.
Yeah,
on how I'm going to deliver that.
Well,
Okay.
listen, empaths have trouble with relationships because of it. What's her name? Judith Orloff talks about she's one that wrote one of the books, and she apparently has, being in a house with somebody else's energy, even if you love them, anyway,
it's more powerful than your own energy. When he's a wreck, I'm way more of a wreck than when I'm a wreck.
Yeah.
Because when I'm a wreck, I mean, I have tools now, right? From I work with you and work I've done since. It's like, oh, I got this. I can deal with my own energy.
Yeah.
But when he's in a funk and something bad is happening to him,
yep.
I am still working through how I work through that. I am a complete disaster.
Well, and that's where I would talk with the people and explain. And when people understand you, then they don't feel so controlled by you. It's on communication is so huge in relationships. Well,
shall we offer this incredible gift to our listeners and to Alexandra?
Yes.
And let's get to hear this in action.
Oh, yeah. Dotsie, can I say that your self-honesty was wonderful. That would be the thing to yourself and in anybody listening. Is self-honesty is so huge in recovery. It is just so huge in getting through anything. I have to say how proud I was and what an honor it was to work with you because of your self-honesty. And honesty to me came secondary, but you were gut honest, in my opinion. You were. And so that was a huge part of your recovery too, if I'm going to pick out one thing, right?
It's a good point. I was desperate to the point of complete openness and self-honesty, because the first couple therapists I worked with, I lied to them about everything. So that wasn't effective. So yes, self-honesty. And I don't think that gets brought up enough.
No.
And about a journey to healing.
And whether people are working on any part of themselves or aware of, please, that is so huge. And then self-knowledge, that, wait, don't say I'm going to run 10 miles today. I can't even walk a block. Oh, well then combining this whole world of self, the world of self is just fascinating. Once you get in there, most of us wouldn't choose to do it. We just rather go to Disneyland all day. Well, wait, no, most of us empaths wouldn't.
Our own Disneyland.
Our own Disneyland and walk on the beach. But it's a worthy journey, and your stuff is your gift. Your stuff is your gift.
Oh, it's true.
Okay, so now I'm sorry I pulled you off our meditation we're going to do with Alexandra.
Well, let's dive in.
It
was awesome.
I interrupted your introduction there, Dotsie, as you were.
No, you didn't. I'm gonna let you take it, because this is the two of your all special time, and hopefully everyone, I've already stated it, but hopefully everyone that's listening now is in a comfortable place in a quiet room where they can receive this gift.
Oh, good. And so whether it's whatever issue it is, try to listen with your own ears, because Alexandra's will be a certain thing, and then everybody, but that's kind of the point, that this kind of conversation and work goes to yourself, everything that's in there. It just manifests as eating disorders or this or that or phobias or, escaping our discomfort, and then judging ourselves, spending our lives judging ourselves for it. Okay, so Alexandra, if you want to then tell me a little bit about what it is you'd like to work on or have worked on and want to work more on, or whatever.
Well, as Dotsie mentioned earlier, both she and I both struggled with eating disorders, and mine, I stopped being bulimic 31 years ago, but I still, and no more binging either. for 31 years. But
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the biggest accomplishments of my life, and the secret
Yes.
sauce to being one of the ingredients of the secret sauce to being very happy. So, but I still have food stuff. I mean, I still go to food for comfort, or especially sugar, as Dotsie knows. And I would like to not do that. I would like to not do that. And I'll give you an example. This morning, normally, as Dotsie and listeners know, part of my program to keep my cholesterol down, I fast until noon. Well, this morning I dropped my beloved husband off at the airport, and I think I already felt a little like I didn't want him to go, and I missed him. And so I ate chocolate at 8 in the morning, and I wasn't even hungry. And I enjoyed it. And I didn't eat a lot of it, but I had some, and I thought, it's so interesting that I always go to that. So I didn't need to, and I certainly am not self-hating right now. I'm just looking at myself going, did you have to do that? Could there have been a better solution?
How did you feel after the little bit? It sounds like you were a lady about it, shall we say? You had a little bit of chocolate, is what you?
Yeah, I didn't eat a lot. What I like to do is buy cookies and take the chocolate chips out. And I tell, I don't know if I've ever told you that, Dotsie, but my nutritionist that I've had, we always laugh about it because it's like a squirrel, but it's really it's a tension thing. Because I have no interest in like buying a bag of chocolate chips. I like the work involved in actually taking out the chocolate chips and eating them. Yeah. And so same thing with, ice cream or something, I like the stuff inside, but the whole ice cream pint isn't as interesting to me. So I think that's a stress reducer, the actual busy work of getting the chocolate chips.
Yes. Yeah. And further distracts your mind. It's almost like an advanced form of, it's like you've taken it to the next level of escaping the emotions you felt when your husband, that whole turmoil that you were in, and there in that case, or every day when something happens, that you self-medicate with the chocolate, but then to make it more of to distract you from what's going on inside, that extra work, as you put it, picking out the chocolate pieces.
Because I'm not binging anymore. I don't binge, and I don't, by the way, when you do that, it's not a binging thing. It's more of a task or something. I don't know.
Well, and it busies yourself with a happy task, but so you're not just self-medicating with the actual thing you're putting in your body, but then your mind gets to go play with a happy task, of like a child would out in the playground, finding little pebbles on the ground. You're lost in finding the best pebble. In this case, something along those lines is, you've got a double escape going. Very good.
Thank you. I never looked at it like that.
And then the only thing is, can we put that escape to some place else, which we'll do. But just to pause a moment with the logistical end of it before the sort of energy work meditation thing is, so how much sugar a day, or it just haunts you? Is it just haunting you and you're just having little bits of it all day long, some of the time?
I don't binge anymore. So it's more that I eat it, and I think I just don't, I can sense myself wanting sugar when I'm anxious or anything. So, or I guess I don't go out and buy a candy bar and eat the candy bar. That just wouldn't happen. I would buy a candy bar and find the chocolate chips in it or something. So it is the activity.
Yeah.
Also.
But again, is it a daily thing?
Yes.
Even little bits. Okay.
I would say that's probably daily because I feel addicted to sugar also physically.
Yeah. And so a little bit of a different conversation, but of course it's all related, is that when it's an addiction, it goes into the category of, oh, this is a scary word for many, abstinence, meaning if you really know it, and I was, and I guess could say, but my metabolism sort of healed. So I can have it now and then. It's like, whoa, that's very, whoa, what, that's too much sugar. But then certain things are less sugar. Mostly though, for what, 10, 15 years, I got sugar out of my life, and it was easier than dealing with it the first 10 days while it's working its way out, along with probably parasites of some sort, that are really the ones down there screaming at you to give me more sugar.
The gut microbiome. Yes. No, you're exactly right. I've given it up, and it's actually quite easy to give it up. And the interesting thing is, when I give it up, I don't really have a substitute. I don't need anything else to I don't need to find pebbles.
Yeah.
So I somehow think it's maybe a made up anxiety or something.
No. And think about it. A beautiful organic ice cold crisp apple that you slice and put on the most beautiful plate. Now, wasn't that a good sell job from me? But it actually is. But what everything doesn't work for everybody, but start thinking about what would be a delicious alternative. So going back to the sugar, when you said addiction, and you said it, not me, then that's what, and I've read this and seen this and lived it too. Not everybody, by the way, is drawn to it, but are addicted to it like that, where it calls out emotionally to you,
or physically. I mean, I think physically too.
Yeah. Yes. So my thing is, most everyone can relate to the sugar thing, whether it's sugar or salty foods or something else, fatty foods. So if we want to just get settled, everybody, being seated is good. Feet on floor, so you don't go to sleep lying down, but your choice. And we just do a short one, and close your eyes and exhale all the air out, right out, all the excess energy, anything out. Big inhalation. Let's just go right through our toes. Clean, blue, soothing oxygen all the way up, dancing, cleansing. Keep inhaling all the way up the heart, the brain, the eyes, soothing, cooling, filling, stretching those lungs. Hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly exhaling. Let the shoulders drop, but keeping the spine straight. And just let yourself settle again. If you're inclined to do another big breath, I call it, or 2, feel free. Often a couple of big breaths, and on a tough day, several. Just one big breath brings stress down and reconnects you with self. So as you feel yourself sitting here, bring your attention to the face. Letting the eyes smooth out. Just being aware of where the tension is, if at all. It might be a headache, something overt like that, or very subtle. Look for the subtle. Bring your attention to it. Check the corners of the eyes where we squint when the sun is bright. Give them permission to soften. And let that softening go right out to the hairline. Just bring that attention over to the hairline and checking that. Is there any holding or tension there? Subtle or gross, intense. Once you find it, it's, oh, hello. Oh, you were in there. I didn't even know. Okay. And allow it to release. Like you would release your fist. Let your fist release. That's all. It might take some focus. Stay with an area. Did you find an area, Alexandra?
Sorry, I put myself on mute so that the audience didn't need to hear me going, breathing.
Oh, I
as
hope I
sat
didn't
there.
just pull you out of it.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, even my face gets tense. So
Did you find one core area?
I would say right around my ears, around my jaw.
Perfect. And keep focused, eyes closed. It's okay if you make noises. That's what we're doing. And notice, is one jaw more prominent than the other, or are they both the same? There's no wrong answer.
I think they're both the same.
Okay, just be with that of another 5-6 seconds, and everybody too. Still the same? Feels about the same? Okay. So let's be with one. Let's pick one of your jaws. Doesn't matter, pick one. Just bring your attention to that. And then if I could ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, what is the intensity of that, 10 being the most?
A 2, it's pretty okay.
Oh, okay. And the other one also is a 2. Okay. And no other place in your head area is calling out to you as a sensation. Okay. Good. So let's stay with the one jaw that you picked, and we're just going to circle it, imaginary circle around it, meaning it's an imperfect circle because we're just going exactly around where that sensation of a 2 is for you. Good. Now, if you could let me know, how many inches or fractions of an inch is it from right to left?
Oh, about an inch.
Good. Stay with that and just let your shoulders drop and eyes soften every once in a while. Just remind your body to stay here inside this encircled area. And then top to bottom, how many inches or fractions?
Half an inch. Maybe more.
Half an inch? Okay, good. Just be with it. Reside there unabashedly, unfearfully. Ah, this is me. This is a sensation I have. As you now try to assess, how deep does it go in to your body, to your head, meaning a fraction of an inch, same thing. Maybe you can tell, maybe you can't. No, there's no wrong answer ever.
To my ear, inside.
Pardon me?
It's about the width of my gums.
Okay, good. So just be with that and allow the rest of your body around it. Remember I said like that clenched fist. Just let the rest of your being watch this with interest instead of aversion, like something's wrong. The inner fascinating world here. Just be with that with no expectation of result. That's not the point. Be with that encircled area. And every once in a while, reminding the rest of your being, including thoughts, to soften. And just be there with your focus on the encircled area. Is there one part of the encircled area that is more intense than the other? The upper, lower, right, left, center? No? Or is it all the same?
Same.
Same, good. One word answers are good like that. Good. Now, I'll give you a few seconds to notice, does it come and go? Or is it the same? We've determined it's the same all through that area, but now watch the if there is any coming and goingness of it in one part or the whole thing, or it just is a steady sensation.
Steady.
Did you notice that?
Steady.
Steady. Okay, so it fills the whole area and it's steady. And if you had to describe it with such words, one word answers as intense, fiery, subtle.
Heavy.
Good. Good. Let's be with the heavy for a moment. Let those shoulders and rest of the body relax. Just be observing every nuance of the heavy. And try to open to that, accept it, if you will. Well, no, I have to contain it. I have to keep it under control. Let that encircled area expand if it wants to. Well, I have to control it. I have to control it. No, you don't. Give it space if it wants or needs it. So just relax around it, open in that area for 5 or 10 seconds here. Just open and let it complete itself, so to speak.
I'm feeling a little uncomfortable.
Feeling uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. Yeah. So emotions came up perhaps? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Be with emotions. It's good. We thank you for this. Stay with the emotions just on your own. You don't have to talk. And notice if those emotions fill your whole body or just in that area. Again, no answer for a moment. You just work. Stay there. Stay with it, what you're feeling. Notice where in the body these emotions are. It's okay. Discomfort is okay. Yeah. Shoulders dropped. Yeah, just another moment. Just a little bit longer. Let the face, checking the face again while your attention is on where did that emotion, don't think about the emotion, just feel. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. A little bit more. Anyone else out there too? Feel where you feel that emotion and be with it. It's okay. Our bodies and soul try to speak to us all the time when we keep busy with life, with distractions. Good girl. Just another moment. It's okay. Being with this whole person sitting here and just plain feeling emotions. That's all. Honoring your true self by feeling and recognizing, acknowledging these emotions. Good. Good. And how are those emotions doing now?
They are calm, but my throat hurts.
That's okay. Let me ask you this. Where did you find it? Somewhere in your body, yes or no? Or was it all throughout?
Well, I definitely was stifling it because I was aware that there were people listening.
Oh.
So, my hands then were very, wringing my hands.
Oh.
And then my throat was very tense.
Uh-huh.
Probably because I wasn't vocalizing.
Yeah.
But and then I felt it in my sternum, the butterfly feeling.
Good. And I'm not saying good to that area. I'm not commenting on anything, but that you found it, everybody. That's what I'm commenting on. There's no wrong on any of this. Good. Sternum near the heart. So even now with your eyes closed, if there's anything that came up that you're aware of that you would want to share, you feel free to do so, but it's not, expected. Did anything come up with that, a thought? Or if you just want to tell more about the emotions, that you're free to, or you don't have to say anything.
Well, it's I did not expect to feel the emotion because I was dealing with my jaw.
Right. Well,
so then and I wear a mouth guard at night because I do clench. I guess I clench my jaw. So
stay eyes, stay focused in, talk from your from inside still.
Okay.
I don't mean to, because you're doing so well. Thank you.
So yes, then I started to cry. Tears came down my face and I didn't want to,
express that on air, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So then my throat started to hurt, which because I wasn't expressing.
Yeah.
It gets tense. And so I just put it into my hands by grabbing onto them very tightly and wringing them like I'm doing right now. So
I like, if I lose your train of thought, but I'd like to hugely congratulate you on tracking the energy of what happened there. You were very specific just now. That's very, if I can say, advanced, but it's very, very nice. Very nice.
well, I think
And
it was because I was noticing how I was stopping my emotions with that physicality.
yeah, so while it's sad that you didn't get to just bawl, but everything happens for a reason, and the lesson or the knowledge that came from that is, for you and listeners, would be that you were trapped inside there with it, so you saw it trying to get out and pop up like a jumping jack, trying to manifested right down to your hands. You stayed with it. Good girl. And did any thought come up with it that you'd want to share, or just on mysterious emotions just came up?
Yeah, they were only emotions. They weren't tied to anything specific today. But it is not, I am aware that I have trouble sitting with myself, and I've talked about this on the podcast, sitting with myself and meditating, because emotions do come up. And I get extremely uncomfortable inside when I have to sit still.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good. And you were saying that specifically clenching the jaw and then the tight throat, and this is about having a voice in the world and not being able to say your full, and in fact you suppressed your voice today, as maybe most everybody would on, like, in this situation, but I'm just trying to, for this conversation, is to ask, but from my chair, it seems like that's with what you said about clenching the jaw and keeping it all in, kind of. Is that how you would that be a pattern, which is not uncommon, but is that, or do you freely express yourself and have no issue with that?
I feel like I express myself a lot. I don't cry a lot anymore. I used to cry a lot, just at anything, at something beautiful and something not beautiful, something painful, something joyous. So I don't do that a lot anymore, I notice. But I did cry today.
Yeah, well, can I just ask, do you remember a time, now but since we're right on top of that subject, when did you quit crying?
A few years ago, I remember commenting to my husband how I just don't cry. And I thought it was because I was, really very, I had resolved a lot of my pain and agitation and I just I'm more in my own self authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would say it was maybe, I don't know, 5-8 years ago.
Because crying is self-expression too. But if you feel comfortable in the not crying thing, you brought it up, so I was just commenting on that. If I used to, but now I don't. Does it seem balanced in the amount of not crying you're doing? If I could phrase it that
Sometimes
way.
I feel like I would normally, maybe it's because I tend to go, before I would go to tears instead of anger. And I would cover my anger. And now I'm more able to go to those, what I considered not nice feelings. So I don't have to go to crying, which is sort of more socially, I don't know, not as confrontational.
Well, okay, so let me circle back around to then, are you comfortable then expressing that, let's say anger, to draw that word, to whomever or whatever, or is it to get this, do things tend to get tucked away because we don't talk about those things?
I would say that I definitely am not 100% comfortable. I like my anger to be, to be logical.
Well, that's fine. But do you express it enough? Are you doing, I'm just asking.
I feel like I do.
Okay.
I feel like I do for the most part, but not always, because I still am very non-confrontational.
There we go. Right. Right. And remember the sacred space thing I mentioned earlier too. You get to, we all get to say what is our truth. And no, I don't think screaming is an effective way to do it. And it's also, if I could say, abusive to whomever is the brunt of that, hearing it, around it. So it's a strong word, but some people feel it more than others. So yeah, good work. And I would, it sounds like you could do with, if I could be a cheering section for saying, speak your truth. And as soon as it comes up, or if you really can't or don't want to or whatever, then deal with that before the day ends. Meditate, feel, where do I feel this? Do some anger work. We did that with Dotsie, with the baton. People have heard of that. A foam, well, we did it with a towel, but there's foam batons on Amazon. Probably you can get to hit the floor, get on your knees and hit the floor over and over. And that's, I won't go on with that, but get it out to the person or situation. And there are situations we can't change or get it, but expressing ourselves has to happen. And then that would come back to, we didn't directly deal with sugar, but that's where we got to, like a dog chewing its tail, or a parrot will pick out all its feathers. And I've seen that, and it's stress. It's stress. What do I do? And smoking and all, and smoking and eating disorders, and this works on paper. This solves the problem if I can get focused on picking chocolate out of cookies, and look, we all have different ways and little things like that, fine, but it's nice also to just feel. So when you're wanting the sugar, especially during the next few days, if you so decide to try that again, is sit with it. And if tears come, that the same thing. Thank you, tears. The body wants to talk to us, wants to communicate with us, and it'll get our attention, sadly enough, one way or the other, whether with an addiction, I'm just using that broad term, or an illness, same kind of thing. But so it behooves us, but also it's just a healthier, freer way to live, and works a lot better too. I'm proud of you, and thank you for that, Alexandra.
Thank you very much, Chris. And I wondered if Dotsie had any comments.
I'm proud of you too. And I was noticing how much it feels to hear someone you love cry. So I started crying because I just was so with you. And
because you're an empath.
Because I'm an empath. Yeah. It was so vulnerable. And I just thank you, because I imagine that you gave many listeners permission to do the same. Most definitely. It was a real gift to listen to the two of you and go through that. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yes, honor and even if you don't know why or can't label what was these tears out, you may notice your dreams tonight, or you're journaling. Another thing Dotsie was really good at. If you do journaling, see, not everything's for everyone. I must have said that 8 times here, but do know that you don't have to do I'm supposed to journal. I don't like to journal. I'm supposed to do the anger baton. I don't want it, different things. But bottom line, if you've ever seen, a beach ball in the ocean or in the swimming pool, and you try to hold that under water, it's hard, right, Alexandra?
Yeah, it'll keep popping up.
Yeah, and there you are. And there at night, your jaw's going, hey, I'm just kind of gritting my time. Now it's only a 2 level today, but you're at night, it's more. And eventually then, you can't, the body's going to rebel. But anyway, yeah, you let go of that beach ball and boom, it goes up about 8 feet. I mean, but it takes the energy to hold everybody. If there's one thing to take from this, is it takes, you think we're getting away from it with eating the sugar or having an eating disorder or drinking or whatever your escape is. But what we're really doing is thinking we're cheating the game here, but we're really holding that beach ball of energy and self, drowning under the water, and it's there just to come up. And that's all that happened really today, like a boil coming to the surface, So anyway, again, good work. Thank you. And
Chris, people may want to find you now. Some may not, but some may. So where can people find you?
Oh,
it's hard work, everyone. I will say that. It ain't easy.
Is www.askrs.com.
Oh, gosh, thank you. It was worth 2.5 year wait. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I just get to tease you. Thanks for being on.
Thank you very much.
Good work, Alexandra. Again, thank you, Dotsie.
Hey, folks. Okay, back by very popular demand is our plant-powered plate fridge magnet, which you are going to receive for free if you leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on. So here are the details. Just write your quick review. Does not need to be long, does not need to be a whole story. Just be honest and speak from the heart. Then take a quick screenshot of the review you wrote and email it to us at podcast@switchforgood.org. That's podcast@switchforgood.org. And include your mailing address so we can send you a power plate. We are doing this because the more reviews we garner, the higher we go in search results, which means more folks will learn about our podcast. So the power is in your hands. Leave us a review and zoom, your power plate arrives at your doorstep.
So thank you so much for tuning in today. If we helped you in any way, then click the subscribe button and let's keep hanging out together. We have so much more to share with you.
And if you need more information on actually making the switch for good, please visit us at switchforgood.org for loads of info. And you can subscribe to our mailing list where you will receive all sorts of super cool gifts, discount codes to our very fave dairy-free products, and a lifetime of powerful health tips.
So join us on the journey to switch for good. This is the future.